often said here on the show, there's nothing more difficult than families, are there not? Because whichever way you look at it, if a family member falls out with you, it can have reverberations around the rest of the family. That also could be said of the former royals known as Harry and Meghan. You see, when they first left, I think they felt that they were that popular that people would follow them, a little bit like the Pied Piper. Meghan saw herself as a superstar actress that was going to have the world at her feet. After all, there she was, beautiful, still young, and marrying a prince. It was almost Princess Grace for the modern age, or so she thought, according to a source. Of course, as time marched on and things became more desperate to earn a crust and they had to turn over their close family and friends, and let's not forget, whichever way you look at it, there were friends that have been left along the way. It does seem odd. As we've often said here on the show, even on their own wedding day, they invited people that perplexed people, seemingly because, as George Clooney pointed out, he didn't know the couple, they'd just been invited. So was there a further fetch? But of course, it really hits home when a true family member doesn't necessarily support you, particularly when that's on the world stage. And that's what's happened now, once again, to the former royals known as Harry and Meghan. And boy, is it hurting. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning. Nice to see you. I hope you're keeping well, as ever. And as I say, difficult times, isn't it? You sow what you reap and all that sort of thing. And also, can I just point out, thank you for letting me know about the clocks going forward. I know I can't work it out forwards, backwards. All I know is we lose an hour's sleep over here. So what I was trying to say was, don't worry about the videos. They will pop up at some point eventually. A little bit like me, yeah. Half asleep, but eventually, you know what I'm saying? Back as ever to your royal story. This really goes on the fact that, as we now know, that senior royal, known as the Duchess of York, has been all across the United States publicising her latest novel. And it's gone very well, as one can imagine. But while appearing on Fox News over in the US, she was kind of caught off guard. And this apparently was fed back to the ex-royals out in Montecito. Or perhaps they were watching it live. Who knows? What else do? They don't have too much else going on, as we know. But what's interesting here is she was asked, the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, if she'd been invited to the coronation. And she pointed out invitations have not gone out yet. And then she was asked, what did she think about Prince Harry's book, Spare? Now, she could have said the more positive line of, well, it's every right's individual to write their own story, their own journey, the leader of their own orchestra, the usual psychobabble that these people come out with, particularly for somebody like Prince Harry, who's in deep in therapy, as one can imagine. What she actually said was it was all about family unity, sticking together, and, basically not doing the dirty on each other. Of course, this kind of left the interviewer rather stunned, because ultimately she wasn't necessarily looking for a bombshell or hoped she would get one, but it wasn't necessarily the answer that she thought she may get. Perhaps she felt like Sarah might have been a little bit more supportive of Harry's best-selling memoir. This, according to a very good source, was the final straw for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, because as we've told you before, they are both very close to the princesses of Andrew and Sarah. But seemingly it appears that Sarah's decided to take the very wise choice of sticking with His Majesty the King, King Charles. She knows, after virtually 20 years out in the frozen ice of the royal enclosure, how bad things can get. And she's certainly not going to risk it anytime soon, backing the unfavourite royals right now, who were recently chucked out of Frogmore by the King himself. So whichever form you want to take, and whichever side you want to look at, seemingly Sarah's taking the side of caution, but making sure, as she pointed out, she fully supports the caring and compassionate King. Where does that leave Harry and Meghan in that curtsying circle of friends? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.